Hello everyone, we are Julian, Cezanne, and Kathy. We will be presenting to you the Lituya Bay mega tsunami of 1958. The question is the Lituya Bay mega tsunami a geophysical or a climate-related disaster? Geophysical disasters refer to tectonic and seismic activity underneath the surface of the Earth that affects both human life and property. Some examples of geophysical disasters include earthquakes, tsunamis, as well as volcanic eruptions. Climate-related disasters refer to severe weather events that also affect both human life and property. Some examples of climate-related disasters are storms, droughts, and floods. The Lituya Bay mega tsunami is what is known as a geophysical disaster.
As seen here on the map to the left, the Lituya Bay mega tsunami occurred in Lituya Bay, Alaska, which has been home to a very small group of individuals being made up of indigenous people, fishermen, and gold miners. The map in the middle has information that shows how the tsunami affected the forests bordering the water. The areas where the tsunami hit the hardest lost all of their foliage and are now barren and empty, as seen on the map to the right. The effects of the tsunami can be seen as much as 200 meters inland with the lack of trees.
In 1958, an 8.3 magnitude earthquake began near Cross Sound and ruptured 125 miles of the nearby Fairweather Fault. It caused a massive landslide, sending 90 million tons of rock into the bay, resulting in a massive tsunami. A tsunami is a series of waves in a body of water caused by the displacement of a very large volume of water. It generally occurs in an ocean or a large lake. Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and other underwater explosions above as well as below the water all have the potential to generate a tsunami. Megatsunamis are different from tsunamis. A megatsunami is what occurred at Lituya Bay in 1958. A megatsunami is a very large wave created by a large and sudden displacement of land material into a body of water. This megatsunami caused serious geological changes in the surrounding environment. The earthquake was felt from Seattle, Washington, all the way to Whitehorse, Canada, although thankfully the damage was confined to the local area. This disaster resulted in a total of 5 deaths, all of which occurred in the water. None of these deaths were preventable, as the event happened too quickly and unpredictably to have had any sort of prevention. Eyewitness reports describe a chaotic and unreal scene of the disaster. There was intense shaking for several minutes, as well as an explosive boom and a shattered glacier flying hundreds and hundreds of feet into the air. After the tsunami, the damaged line in the forest, also referred to by geologists as a trim line, ended up 180 feet above sea level and 1,000 feet from the high tide mark. On average, the trim line had generally extended to an elevation of 700 feet or 200 meters around much of the bay. In addition, evidence of the cataclysmic wave is still visible from space all these years later. These are collectively called the Queen Charlotte Fairweather Fault System. The fault is an active transform fault that marks the boundary of the North American and the Pacific plates. It is Canada's right lateral strike-slip equivalent to the San Andreas Fault, located along California. The fault forms a triple junction on its south with the Cascadia subduction zone and the Explorer Ridge, also known as the Queen Charlotte Triple Junction. Geologist Don Miller's initial observations aided in the determining of the trigger of the Lituya Bay megatsunami. Miller had seen driftwood and rocks scattered across the slopes at the top of the trimline, and the trees that had not been washed into the bay all lay on the ground pointing westward, the direction in which the wave had traveled. At first, Miller was not able to explain how the earthquake had triggered such a humongous wave, but he was at least certain that the earthquake had been part of the cause. He first assumed that the large wave had been caused by the large movements along the fault. Later on, researcher R. L. Weigel built a scale model of Lituya Bay and found that he could more or less recreate Miller's observations given a large enough mass. He observed a landslide scar, which was high above Gilbert Inlet in Lituya Bay. On a near vertical slope, it appeared that about 90 million tons of rock had been dumped onto the inlet all at once. These combined research efforts helped determine that a landslide was the trigger of the mega tsunami.
Here are some general statistics about the tsunami. The Lituya Bay tsunami is the largest tsunami ever recorded, standing at a whopping 524 meters tall, which is more than a quarter of a mile in length. To put that in comparison, the Empire State Building is 443.2 meters tall with 102 stories. The earthquake that started the tsunami was clocked in at an 8.3 on the Richter scale, making it tied for the fourth strongest earthquake ever recorded in United States history. The earthquake caused a rock with a diameters of 2,400 feet by 3,000 feet by 300 feet to break away from a nearby mountain and fall into the water, assisting in the creation of the massive wave. Another factor in the Lituya Bay tsunami was a 90 million ton rock slide caused by the earthquake that fell right into the water. The preceding tsunami reached a max speed of 120 miles per hour as it moved throughout the bay. With these unprecedentedly fast waves, it made it impossible for boats in the bay to safely move out of the way, which caused some of the 5 total deaths during the disaster. Even though 5 lives were lost, the economic loss created by the disaster was minimal in every sense of the word, as only a few boats were destroyed along with a very small village.
From this disaster, there was a death toll of 5. Married couple Orville and Mickey Wagner are 2 of the people who died as a result of the mega tsunami. Bill and Vivian, 2 survivors of the disaster, state they saw the Wagners in their boat named Sumar right before the incident occurred. The reason the Wagners did not survive is because of their attempt to leave the bay in hopes of beating the wave, instead of heading towards the wave like Bill and Vivian had done. There is nothing that could have been done to prevent the mega tsunami, as it was caused by a landslide from the recent earthquake. The earthquake was too strong and the tsunami was too fast for any hope of damage prevention. Due to the mega tsunami being caused by a landslide, slope stability assessments are a key measure that could notify the nearby populace if they need to evacuate. From this event, it is evident that proper development decisions should be considered in areas that are vulnerable to tsunamis or areas that are high in seismic activity. The work of Don Miller and Lituya Bay guided scientists to believe that a rock slide caused this great wave. Scientists Herman Fritz and Willie Hager recreated a 1 to 675 scale model of Gilbert Inlet, found that on impact the landslide created an air cavity which displaced a lot more water than the initial size of the rock. Thanks to Miller's research, we have gained a much better understanding of how mega tsunamis work.